Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, folks, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Friday edition of the Investigative Journal. And today we're going to talk about, what else? Jussie Smollett and all of these fake hoaxes that are going on in America today. Did you know how many there are? Not just Jussie, and let's just say alleged fake hoax, because he still has his day in court, right? But anyway, before I do that, a person asked me a question the other day, and I wanted to answer it. They said, well, what's the reason for doing your show? Why do you always talk about these things that nobody talks about? The Vatican-led New World Order, the Jesuits, and the top of the heap, the top of this elite heap being in Rome. And I said this, there's a story behind the story most everybody in my lifetime will never get at, never read, never comprehend, and most likely die without knowing. Stories, however, folks, go in one ear and out the other. They don't matter, never have. A story just comes and goes. It's out of the blue, especially for someone like me who talks about things that are very rarely heard about. But a true story comes and goes like a bad cold, a virus, or the Black Plague. Truth, folks, is not what our owners, our controllers, think we were born to know. So what is it that we do? Truth then becomes speculation with a dose of your own opinion, a dose of bias, perhaps, with a cherry on top and a double dose of your own bigotry, maybe. But whether it be outright bigotry or a deeper bigotry of ideas, the human species, unlike our animal friends, are burdened with this incurable disease. A disease that kills the very heart and soul of most of our species. A disease without a name. A silent killer of the spirit, robbed by the very ideas that many of us take to the grave. So what I'm saying is that this show's about what our elite owners don't want us to know. They don't think we were born to ever get at the truth. We were simply born to take what they say as truth, to live a lie, even to the fact of the type of earth we live on, even to the fact of lying to us about religion, lying to us about politics, lying to us about most everything. That's what is truth to them. And they want you to believe their deceptive, false truths. And so that's what most people are going to go to the grave with. And that's the reason that I do this show. Okay, so that is, like I said, the reason I do this show. But anyway, we're going to talk today about all of these list of hoax hate crimes that have arisen in America since Trump has come on the scene. And the most recent one is, captivated America. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, it's if World War III broke out today, no one would know and would get killed by a bomb and go to the grave thinking about Jussie Smollett. But who the hell is this guy? He's an actor on Empire. Big deal. He's gay, he's black, and he wants to be a victim. Right. And the reason they say is because he didn't think he was getting paid enough on Empire. Boy, what a world we live in. But this hoax is interesting, and it's an alleged hoax. But did they say alleged? Did CNN say alleged? Did NBC and all these talk show hosts and everybody say alleged when the story first broke and Jussie Smollett said that he was attacked by two people who carried a lynch rope and beat him, and then said they were Trump followers. They were wearing MAGA hats, and this was MAGA country. It was reported as an attack, not an alleged attack. But then as the facts came out, it was proven by the Chicago Police Department that Mr. Smollett wasn't a victim, but became a suspect. And then he was arrested on charges of falsely telling the police a story, a felony. He's also going to get charges filed by the feds because he sent himself, before this incident, an envelope full of broken up aspirins, saying that it was some kind of toxic chemical that was intended to kill him. So we got this guy, and that's federal crimes. So this guy right now is facing a whole bunch of charges. And basically, what happened was the police did their homework. Did you know in Chicago they spent hundreds of man hours, 24 police detectives on this case, interviewed hundreds of people, finally found the two guys from Nigeria that supposedly, or allegedly, we're going to use allegedly, basically were paid $3,500 by Smollett, given even a check to buy rope. Now, what kind of criminal is he? You don't give a person a check. I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, so Smollett allegedly now gives these guys the money, then has them stage an attack. They even rehearsed it like it was on a film set. Well, he's an actor, right? And apparently the police, right after it happened, these guys are from Nigeria. They left for Nigeria to let the situation cool down, but came back, and now they were put in a separate room, and they basically were told, if you tell us all this, we won't charge you with anything. And so Smollett now is charged. He went and posted a $100,000 bond, which means $10,000. He's not a flight risk. But anyway, he still contends that he's innocent. Okay, his lawyer says that he's an upstanding citizen. And the Chicago police chief got on and just berated him, just read him the riot act for what he did. And basically went the other day, just yesterday, back to the Empire TV set and apparently told all of his actors friends that he was innocent. But Empire has written him out of the script for this year, and we'll see what happens. But here we have liberal actor Smollett, now accused of staging a racist and anti-gay attack on himself from Make America Great people. Any one of you white people out there, or black people or Hispanics who follow Trump, that's what you are. You're a hate-baiting racist and an anti-gay person. You hate gays. That's what they want people to think. Now, this is the latest, though, in instances of liberals manufacturing hate crimes for attention in the Trump era. It's amazing. So I tried to figure out, let me see if I could find some more of these. And I ran into a number of them. And there was one who was an anti-Muslim. You see, Trump hates all Muslims. So anybody who follows Trump's hate Muslims, right? And we have now a Muslim who's in the House of Representatives in Washington. And she's quite an interesting character, let me tell you. Anti-Muslim hate crime in Michigan turns out to be a hoax. This was in November 2016. Maybe you forgot about it. This was reported by the Washington Post, who, by the way, is being sued by, remember, one of the Covington white boys? When the Post rushed to judgment about him. Remember that? We'll get to that one. But a Muslim woman, this is in 2016, at the University of Michigan, received national attention from national outlets like the Post and others in November 2016 after she claimed a drunk 20-something man, white, threatened to light her on fire if she didn't remove her hijab. The university condemned the hateful attack, which turned out later to be a hoax. And how did that turn out for her? Let's see what happened. Despite this lack of evidence for the woman's claims, the media immediately treated it as by various media outlets as truth, as well as by the university itself, who immediately condemned the incident as a hateful attack. The incident was also seized upon by the Center of American Islamic Relations, which tried to explicitly tie the supposed attack to Trump's election as president. Yes. Now, more than a month later, Ann Arbor police say the whole attack was a sham. Police Lieutenant Matthew Lige announced that the officers reviewed many hours of surveillance footage from the area where the supposed attack occurred. Not only were they unable to find any evidence of the attack, they were also unable to find any evidence the student was in the area at the time. The attack has no eyewitnesses. And despite the collapse of the woman's story, police are still refusing to identify her. Because the crime she reported was a felony, police say she may be charged with a felony herself for false reporting. I don't know if she has since 2016, but I doubt it. They may have to charge Smollett. Well, they have charged Smollett. He may even have to go to jail because it's a high-profile crime. Now, the Michigan student story is just the latest hate crime to fall apart. There are many more. Now, there's been other ones exposed in Louisiana, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, California, and elsewhere. And it's a trend, folks. And why do people do it? Well, it's great to be a victim now, right? Everybody's a victim. That's what you have nowadays. Victims. Everybody's a victim. But anyway, isn't it amazing that all these things go on and we don't know it, and nobody, but you know what happens with a story like that? People believe it's still true, and the media then doesn't come back and say, hey, we made a big mistake, and place the same amount of coverage on their mistake as they did on the original rush to judgment. And they don't say alleged. They don't use that word anymore, I guess, in the media when it comes to Trump people. Now, is there any more of these? Of course. There was a gas station racism incident that went viral in November of 2016. It was then again debunked by police. A Philadelphia woman, Ashley Boyer, claimed in November 2016 that she was harassed at a gas station by a white Trump-supporting males, one of whom pulled a weapon on her. Boyer claimed that the men proceeded to talk about the election and how they're glad they won't have to deal with the N-word people much longer. Boyer deleted her post after it went viral and claimed the men were caught and were facing criminal charges. But guess what? Later, after the media again rushed to judgment, folks. Do you believe it? It was all false. And, you know, following Trump's win, there's been a plague of these hate crime hoaxes been sweeping the country. My question is, do these people just make this, do they just wake up one day and go, I think I'll fake this? And is there justification for it? Or are they paid, or is this something that somebody behind the scenes is paying them to do? Well, from California to Illinois, stories are cropping up of hate crimes perpetrated by supposed Trump supporters that later proved to be fabricated by the so-called victim of the crime. And there's so many of these. Let me get to another one here. How about in a widely shared Facebook post, okay? An Asian student at the University of Minnesota claimed she was harassed by a white man as she was walking across a bridge in Minneapolis. The man told her to go back to Asia. Kathy Miratu said in the post she ignored him and kept walking across the bridge, but says he followed her and added, "Don't you know it's disrespectful to walk away from someone when they're talking to you?" Then he allegedly grabbed her wrist and she responded by punching him in the throat. Tu claims the man called the police and accused her of assaulting him, and that the police handcuffed her and checked her criminal background before letting her go with a warning. But the local and university police departments released statements contradicting Tu's narrative, however, saying they have no record of the confrontation she described. Tu did not respond to requests for comment from a local paper regarding her story and has apparently deleted her Facebook account. This is catching on, huh? So you want to be a victim? Hey, think of a good story. How about this one? Taylor Volk, okay, here's another one. Bisexual student receives homophobic notes. An openly bisexual senior at North Park University claims she was the recipient of homophobic note and hateful emails following Trump's win in the presidential election. But the school president has reported the notes were fabricated. Taylor Volk said she found a note taped to her door that read "Back to Hell" and Trump by a Trump supporter. It included homophobic slurs following the election, as well as several anonymous emails with similar messages. She reported the message on her Facebook and spoke to the press about the incidents. "I just want them to stop," she told NBC News. Of course, NBC News reported it as fact. Volk also said she was confident the school would investigate. Indeed, the university's president announced Tuesday the notes were a hoax and that Volk is no longer enrolled at the school. Who's paying these people? I mean, do they wake up and just start making these things up? I don't get it. How about this one? A white man. It's always white men and Trump supporters doing all these things. Isn't that crazy? But if anything ever went the other way, for example, if I walked out the door and I said a globalist just hit me over the head with a globe, they'd never cover it. They'd say, "Oh, he's crazy. He's making it up." They wouldn't say, "This poor white man, probably a Trump supporter, wearing a red, oh wait, it's a Chicago Cubs baseball hat, not a MAGA hat. Well, anyway, it's red. Cubs were blue, but they have practice red hats maybe." So anyway, that's how the story would be covered. But here, we get a white man robs Muslim of her hijab and wallet. Only problem is, that never happened. An 18-year-old Muslim woman in Louisiana claimed in November 2016 that the two white men, one of who was wearing a Trump hat, everybody's wearing these Trump hats that do these things, right, attacked and robbed her, taking her wallet and hijab. Who the hell would want her hijab? You know? Why, give me, it's called a scarf, or what do they call it in Polish? Babushkas. You wear that over your head. Remember in the 50s the women wore that? I'm tired of this word hijab. While yelling racial slurs. She later admitted to the Lafayette Police Department that she made the whole thing up. I'm not even going to get into the story. But, again, it was covered as fact. I want to hear the alleged. Then I want to hear these people from the news agencies like NBC Post and all these, Washington Post, Times, and all these places, get up and say, let's get to the bottom of who's paying these people. I mean, this can't just be, can it? Be Muslims, homos, and others, blacks who are saying, all these white men are doing this that wear red hats. Seems a little funny to me, but that's me. Oh, we got more coming. But before I do that, since we're on the topic of Muslims, there's a Muslim woman now, she's supposedly an American citizen, who said she left because she wanted to join ISIS, right? And then she married 3 ISIS followers, had children, but now she realized she's made a mistake and she wants to come back to the United States. Well, Mike Pompeo, head of the State Department, and Trump said she's not coming back. She's not an American citizen. Apparently, she was born to a diplomat or somebody in the military, something, in a foreign country, but that does not qualify her to be an American. But then she said her father had retired a month before she was born, and she is a citizen. Says she has a passport, the whole works. So my question to you, do you want to let her in? I have a deal for Trump and everybody. Why did Clinton and all the rest of the presidents, and why is Trump allowing a Muslim radical imam who spreads Sharia law to live in the Pocono Mountains, his name is Fethullah Gulen, and spread Sharia law all over America and be given millions of dollars of taxpayer money? Why do they let him stay? I mean, if they let him stay, let the poor girl in. What's she going to do? But do you realize, my friends, Fethullah Gulen, look up this guy. This is a perfect example that everyone at the top levels of our government is working along with the Vatican-led New World Order to push America to the brink, to bring in these terrorists. Gulen is a terrorist. He does it through being an intellectual terrorist, and he claims to be a moderate. But I ran into him and his story years ago in Europe, when he was in Europe. He's from Turkey. And actually, Erdogan, the Turkish president, has asked Trump to turn him over, and they won't. But I remember years ago, Gulen was spreading Sharia law and radical Islam all through Europe. So why in the hell is he here? And they know it because they want to spread radical Islam here. So let the poor 18-year-old in. It's just another one that but they're going to make it a big deal. The reason they won't let her in is they'll say, oh, see, we keep out any idea of Muslim terrorists. Well, if you do, then get rid of Fethullah Gulen. But how many of you even know who this guy is? And you think the media is going to cover it? Hell no, because they're in the pocket of the Vatican-led New World Order as well. All right, one more before the break, and then we'll do a few more in the second half hour. How about a church organist? He vandalized his own church. He was arrested in May 2017 after he was found responsible for spraying and painting a swastika, an anti-gay slur, and words "Hail Trump" on his own church. When the story first broke, media outlets were quick to tie the hoax to Trump's election. The offensive graffiti at St. David's is among numerous incidents that have occurred in its wake of Trump's election day win. And what did the Post report at the time? Yeah, what did they do? So here's this guy who did it himself. But here's what the Indiana church was defaced with "Hail Trump" graffiti and is keeping it. And the Post reported it like that. Amazing. So here we go. A guy stages this. It gets reported. And you know what they say? Well, it's Trump's fault. It's the Trump followers. It's the Trump followers that are causing these problems. Well, they want everybody to hate American white people. Okay? That's the goal. The goal is to ruin everything, any vestige of middle-class America, any ideas that America, has a valid reason to be an independent country. I mean, if the Vatican can have its sovereignty, it's about as big as a football field. They got 800 residents. It's a country within a country with a wall. Why don't we get rid of them? Why don't they bring socialism there? Tear down the wall, Pope. Bring socialism and give everybody your money. It never happened. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app. for all of your mobile devices. Streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening.
Okay, back, ladies and gentlemen, for the second half hour, last half hour of the Investigative Journal this week. Hope you enjoyed the shows, and I hope you really take it to heart and start researching the Vatican-led New World Order, just for grins and giggles, right, if you really don't believe it. And if you do, there's so much to this story. But remember, they're not going to tell you what they're doing because they're stoked there. They're steeped in secrecy. It's all secret, just like Bush and the Skull and Bones. And it's also a secret, don't let the cat out of the bag, that Trump works for them too. And boy, now I'm going to get everybody with a MAGA hat saying that I'm a globalist. And then the globalists are going to say, you see, Greg is crazy because nobody works for the Jesuits. They're good people. But, you know, we did a whole thing on Clinton yesterday and the foundation and Robert Mueller and all these guys. But do you know who the mentors are of Clinton and all these people? Yeah, it all boils down to Jesuits when you start looking at them. Carol Quigley and many, many others. Look at who's the father of the New Age movement. It's Pierre Desjardins, a Jesuit priest. Look who created communism and socialism. Guess who? The Jesuits in the Paraguay experiments in the 1600s. Guess what Pope actually was Hitler's mentor, Pope Pius XII. Guess who wrote Mein Kampf? A Jesuit, Father Stempfel. And isn't it interesting that the Jesuits were in China in the 1600s? And guess who's one of our fathers of our Constitution? Guess who's one of our founding fathers? Father Lorenzo Ricci, a Jesuit general. Guess what Jesuit general Mr. Tamburini said in the 1700s? He said, you know, as I sit here in my chair on Via Borgo Santo Spirito Cinque, in Rome. I control China. I control the Middle East. I control the Bronx. The Bronx weren't even around then, but I just brought that up. I control everything without anybody knowing it. Look up the quote. So when I say there's a Jesuit behind every Nassau rock and fake video that depicts the earth being round when it actually is flat, I'm not crazy. But they'll love to say that. I've been hearing it ever since I started doing these stories about the Jesuits. Heard it from people like Alex Jones 15 years ago. Heard it from the godfather of Father Marcinkus. Remember him, the Vatican Bank president, who was money laundering and in the P2 Masonic Lodge and should have been indicted for the murder of Roberto Calvi, the president of the Bank of Ambrosiano, the biggest bank scandal in the history of the one of the biggest in the history of the Vatican. No one talks about it. No. And what did I get called? Oh, you're crazy. These are just poor priests. They're spreading the word of God. They're holy men. My ass, they're holy men. And I'll stick to that story right to the end, because I'm telling you, if you don't get to the bottom of it, you're going to die with the elite owners, your owners, getting the best of you, saying, look at these stupid people. They believe anything we say, anything we do. And I'll tell you, this Trump thing going on today is a perfect example of it. But anyway, we got all these hoaxes. It's an amazing story. It really is. Because first of all, we know that the globalists, George Soros, other people like him, fund these groups to create havoc, right? They've done it in many rallies throughout the Trump administration. They're also paying people to bring all these caravans up from Honduras. So why wouldn't they pay all these people to do this too? What if today you meet you're broke, right? And you walk outside and you go to a Starbucks or something. I guess you wouldn't be broke if you went to Starbucks, but let's say you find $1 on the street when you go and you end up in Starbucks and you give them $1 and they say, hey, that's not enough. Our coffees are $2.50. I say, well, fill it up halfway. Give me $1's worth. You think they'd do it? I don't know. I haven't tried that, but I will one day. Give me $1's worth of coffee. All right. So you go in there and you meet these people and they hate Trump. Oh, boy, do they hate Trump. They look like they're well-dressed. And they start saying, hey, you hate Trump, don't you? Oh, yeah. You hate those MAGA people, don't you? Oh, yeah. We got to have a globalist country. Look what they're doing to all these poor people. Look at these ideas. Look at Trump. He's ridiculing. He's a homophobe. He's a xenophobe. I don't know what's a xenophobe. Hates Zenith TVs. He's an oxophobe. He's a xenophobe. He's a clarophobe. Whatever phobe he is, he's everything. So you want to get even with him and all these MAGA people? Here's what I'll do for you. We got a plot. Okay, there's these drunk white guys that are going to attack you, and they're going to be yelling out, we hate globalism, we love Trump, we hate people like you, women, we hate racists, we hate people, homophobes, we hate homos, we hate everybody. You know what I'm saying, so you get hysterical. So they say, why don't you go out and do that? We'll figure out everything for you. You don't know us. No. And we'll give you $2,000. Holy shit. You know what? That person is the next thing they're doing is they're staging the next hoax. It's just a thought. But I just find it funny that all these things are going on. I don't know if people are smart enough, first of all, to do it. Look at Jussie Smollett. How did he do that? I mean, apparently he didn't need the money, but this is an interesting story because it's going to not end here. And he still says he's not guilty. Well, that's what he's got to say. But there'll be some twists and turns here. It should be interesting. But who organizes this stuff? I mean, and these other things I'm talking about, are these people smart enough to do that? And would they do that just for what? What do they gain out of it unless somebody's paying them? Now, here's one, a white guy. Listen to this. Sets his own car on fire, paints racial slurs on his own garage. So, in Denton, Texas, resident David Williams supposedly set his own car on fire and painted on it the N-word lovers on his home garage in an apparent attempt to stage a hate crime. Local police investigated the arson as a hate crime. Williams and his wife Jenny collected more than $5,000 from Good Samaritans via a GoFundMe page before the hoax was exposed. Okay? So the guy cuts, there you go, money. He's a victim. Let's talk about that for a moment. So the guy stages something on his own. He says, oh, these people set my car on fire, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? He did it. Then he collected $5,000. So the money angle. Remember the woman, what's her name, Blasey Ford, who had these allegations about our Supreme Court Justice, the last Supreme Court Justice. And she said that he engaged in sexual, unwanted sexual activities with her when they were in college or something. High school? No, it was high school. There were it was found later, she had no evidence whatsoever. She didn't even know, nobody knew she was there, etc. So it was a bogus claim, most likely. But she started a GoFundMe page, collected I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars. Where'd that go? I want to be a victim. I'm going to think of something here, Start a GoFundMe page, How about this one? Pranksters tricks liberal journalist into spreading anti-Trump hoax. As tales of Trump-inspired hate crimes are spreading off far and wide from sea to shining sea, and liberal journalists wanting to get Trump out of office fell for this one-line prankster and decided to test just how easy it was to fool journalists. That's what this guy was doing. The prankster sent MIC.com writer Sarah Harvard a fictitious story in which a Native American claimed to have been harassed by an alleged Trump supporter who thought she was Mexican. Despite no evidence backing up the claim, Harvard spread the fake story. Emails the prankster shared with the Daily Caller, and then it spread all over the place. But it was a prank. It wasn't even true. Does anybody check things out anymore? Or is it just you put it on YouTube and it's true? Right? How about student writes anti-Muslim graffiti on his own door? A Muslim student at Beloit College wrote anti-Muslim graffiti on his own dorm door. The student was reportedly motivated by a desire to seek attention after a Jewish student was targeted with anti-Semitic notes. Now, probably that one was true, and the other false, but got all the coverage, right? Oh boy, it goes on, doesn't it? Never seems to end. We got more hoaxes coming out. No one knows what to believe anymore, do they? How about this Israeli man? In 2017, in April, was behind an anti-Semitic bomb threat in the U.S. Media outlets didn't wait to find out who was behind a string of bomb threats targeting synagogues and Jewish schools before linking the threats to Trump. A U.S.-Israeli man was charged in April 2017 and indicted in February 2018 for the threats. A former reporter for The Intercept was also charged with making several copycat threats. But they didn't wait to find out who did it. Right? How about hoax at St. Olaf's in May 2017? Students at St. Olaf College in Minnesota staged protest protests and boycotted classes in May 2017 after racist notes targeted black students were found around campus, earning coverage in the national media outlets like the Washington Post. It later came out that the black student was responsible for the racist notes. The student carried out the hoax in order to draw attention to concerns about the campus climate, the university announced. So here we got a guy faking this because he wants to draw attention to what? His own bias, his own bigotry? Yeah. So we got all these crazy eyes for money, for your own bigotry. That's why I said in my opening statement, people are going to die believing their own bigotry ideas without getting all the facts about what really life is like when you're born into America. Now, how about the one this in September 2017? The Air Force Academy was thrown into turmoil in September 2017 when horrific racist notes were found at the Academy's prep school. Go home, N-word, read one of the notes. The superintendent, Lieutenant General J.B. Silveria, went viral with an impassioned speech addressing the racist notes. He went crazy. He went crazy with this, right? Went absolutely crazy. But guess what happens? Guess what happens? Just a second. I guess I'm getting a call from the White House. Okay, so this general gives this impassioned speech. If you can't treat somebody with dignity and respect, then you need to get out of the military. However, 2 months later, authorities determined that one of the students targeted by the notes was also the person responsible for writing them. There you go, another hoax. But, the media didn't cover it like that. The general immediately rushed to judgment. And again, here we go. K-State, Kansas State, fakes hate crime. Student at Kansas State University filed a police report. When was this? In November 2017. Over racist graffiti left on his car. Go home, boy, and whites only, read the racist graffiti, which the student later admitted writing himself. So guess what? It gets reported again like it was a true story, but 21-year-old Dontarius Williams, who was an African American, apologized for the prank. I would like to deeply apologize to the community, he said. The graffiti was meant as a Halloween prank. Williams even filed a false police report. That probably won't do anything to him. It was just a Halloween prank that got out of hand. I wish I could go back to that night, but I can't. After the car was discovered Wednesday, African American students led a meeting to discuss possible underlying racism on campus. Huh? Wow. The FBI got involved, opened a civil rights investigation, and the local police thanked them for the help. Boy, incredible what goes on here, all based on a fake. And it's not just one. They're all over the place. All fakes. Fake, 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 fake. So what are you supposed to believe anymore? So, I'm sure that there's probably some out there, that aren't fake. But, the boy who cried wolf too many times, nobody's going to believe anybody. But they're getting their point across. They want to disrupt anybody. They want to look at America and say, hey, look at you white people. You're all racist, right? That's exactly what they're trying to do. Well, doesn't end with that guy. Just in July of 2018, a waiter fakes note calling himself a terrorist. Texas waiter Cahill Cable went viral after posting a Facebook picture of a racist note that he claimed a customer had left on the receipt in lieu of a tip. The note described Cable as a terrorist. Saltgrass Steakhouse was where it occurred, where Cable worked. Initially banned the customers for life. The ones that left the supposed note. And before their investigation revealed that the waiter had faked the racist note himself. And he admitted, he said, I did write it. I don't have an explanation. I made a mistake. There's no excuse for what I did. But it gets reported as a hate crime. Right? And do you think the media is backtracking and saying to you, look at all these? No, you don't hear that. Wow, it caught on though. Because in July, a waitress fakes a racist note, blames law enforcement. A Texas waitress apologized in July 2018 after blaming local law enforcement for an offensive note targeting Mexicans. She later admitted she wrote the note herself. Now, there's in September 2018, a New York woman, hate crime that wasn't. A New York woman was charged in September 2018 after police determined she fabricated a story about white teens yelling racial slurs at her and leaving a racist note on the car. Yep, and police determined she fabricated. How many of these people you think have been charged with crimes? I don't think many. But we're going to be interested to see if Smollett, he has already been charged, but we'll see if he does any time. Or maybe the trial will come out that this whole, the two Nigerian guys did it after they said they didn't. Well, we'll see what happens. Several but I doubt that very much. But anyway, got to give him a fair trial, and it's only alleged right now. Remember that. Student faked racist notes. There's another one here at Drake University in December 2018. This Drake University students were actually the work of one student who had been targeted by them. The fact that the actions of the student who has admitted guilt were propelled by motives other than hate does not minimize the worry and emotional harm they cause, but should temper fears, said University President Marty Martin. So we get fake notes all over the place, and that leads us up to one of the big ones that everybody knows about, and that's what recently happened in January of 2019, and we'll call it the Covington catastrophe at Covington Catholic. Dennis Griffin, I'm looking at a picture of Dennis Griffin's stadium, Covington Catholic High School. And we all know the story. We came out on a video. National media outlets pounced on a selected, edited portion of the video from the March for Life that showed Native American activist Native Phillips beating a drum in front of a boisterous group of Covington Catholic high school kids. Phillips originally told the Post the students swarmed him while he was preparing to leave the Indigenous Peoples March scheduled for the same day. Phillips originally said one student, who later identified himself as Nick Sandman, blocked his path from leaving as he tried to do so. The extended video shows that wasn't the case. It wasn't true at all. Phillips approached the high school boys during their cheers, not the other way around. Some of the other people with Phillips were directly racially charged language at the students, not the other way around. And when you listen to the video of that group of, what do they call themselves? Black something Jews? I don't know. It's a group of black individuals that were yelling the worst language. Oh, man. Just when you hear the slurs that were being yelled at these kids, but that wasn't reported. Phillips told a second variation of his story to the Detroit Free Press. Maybe many of you don't know this. Phillips claimed he was playing the role of a peacemaker by getting between the students and the four old black individuals whom he claimed the students were attacking. That never happened. They were in the process of attacking these four black individuals, Phillips told Michigan Paper. I was there and I was witnessing all of this. How did these guys lie? I don't care if he's a Native American or not. As this kept on going and escalating, it just got to the point where you do something or you walk away, You see something that is wrong and you're faced with the choice, right or wrong. These young men were beastly, and these old black vigils was their prey. And I stood in between them, and so they needed their pounds of flesh, and they were looking at me for that, he added. Extended video shows that the account isn't accurate at all. The 4 individuals Phillips referred to were members of the black Hebrew Israelites, not old guys. And they launched racist and anti-gay slurs at the high school students before the high school students said anything to them. Amazing. So the story gets blown out of proportion, right? First by the Washington Post, and then by every other major news outlet. And all you remember seeing is that Nick Sandmann, the kid in the MAGA hat, staring at the Native American pounding the drum. And I even heard a news broadcaster say, "Boy, that guy just stared, and that's dangerous." I mean, he stood his ground, and that's a threat? He was approached by them. So basically what's happened since then, Nick Sandmann's attorney has filed a $250 million lawsuit against the Washington Post and other media outlets for this apparent, hoax again. I mean, this guy's lying. When you look at the videos and you hear what happened, it was the other way around, but the media turned it around to meet their own agenda. And they are just as big of hoaxsters as the people that are perpetrating these things, because they're not doing any kind of reporting, but they're taking their ideologies and making the facts work to meet their ideologies, not the other way around. Back next week. Have a good weekend. I'll be back and listen to the Investigative Journal. See you then.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.